Welcome back. Today we're going to be taking a look at how we can do a little bit of refactoring or making our code so it looks a little bit nicer, it's a bit more organized. And so what we're going to do is we started off the other day, we were working with our insertion sorts of the chatbot responses so we could alphabetize every single word that the chatbot's ever said to us. I know it's an amazing thing. But as you can see right here, we have this very large method. It goes from lines 249 down to 291 because it's got quite a bit of stuff it's doing. And when we're talking about how we should, when we're reorganizing code or when we're looking at code a second time, especially if we can afford to do it the first time, we really want to make sure we can try and make our code do one thing well. And so that means when we're working with our code, we want to try and collapse out a code so that each of the segments that it does, it performs that set of executions or that set of instructions effectively and efficiently. And then we use those predefined steps or instructions, like we're calling those methods, inside another method. So like, oh, this large procedure is broken up in these other smaller procedures, and I can call them over and over again, maybe for some other purpose or some other use. And that's where you get the idea of code reuse, and we have a greater level of abstraction and understanding of how we can possibly do more with our code. And so we're going to take that example right here, and we're going to use that inside our insertion sort of chatbot responses large method, and we're going to use that and break it into three different methods. Now, because the fact the method itself is doing three separate different things using loops, it's really easy to identify, oh, here's this chunk of information, here's this chunk of information, here's this chunk of information. And so if we look at the process right here, we can see that we have three different blocks of execution that are happening inside this method. We have the first part right here where we're going through and we're getting all unique values out of the array list of words, because we want to get a new list that has only unique values. And we purposely want to make sure we make a new list so we don't hurt the existing data. And we've talked about this in some of our other videos as well. The next thing we have right here is this next nested set of loops, which is our insertion sort itself. And so the insertion sort, of course, should be its own actual method, so we could use that to sort any group of strings we wanted to sort with. So we would have that then right here, so we'd use that to sort that. And then finally, we have our formatting section, where we take that list of information and we format it into a single string that we can use to display and put on our chatbot pop-up window, or when we get to our actual GUI, we can load it inside the actual text-filled area. And so that's what we want to do, is we want to take those three things down and actually collapse them into the associated methods. That means we have to just do a little bit of extra work. So what we want to do is we want to take each of these blocks of code that have a single purpose, and we extract them out into their own method. And the way we do that is we look at what kind of pieces need to be happening with this and how we can actually use them. And so we want to keep in mind that when we're working with an array list, because it's an object, when I pass that object as a parameter to something else, that object is then modified, and so that array list, any changes that happen to the internal structure of that object, those like say sorting or taking out things, I have all that stuff back, so I can then, if I don't return it as a parameter because it's just an actual object I send as a parameter over to something, that object is still sorted and all the contents of it have been appropriately moved because I didn't hurt the actual object itself. I just told it, it's like, hey, send this reference to this marker over here, do stuff with that marker, and then I have that marker still in my hand as a variable. I can go back and reuse it, and it's now all sorted information inside that marker. So we can use that power of using an object reference so we can make sure we can assign values into things and return things as necessary. So the first thing we want to do is we're going to start off here with this first one. We have this array list of string results as a new array list of string. Okay, that's great. And then we have right here inside our first bit, we're going to take the original array list, the data member chatbot responses that has everything inside it, and we're going to take that data member and we want to convert that, all those unique values, and put it inside results. Well, right here, this lovely set of nested for loops can be extracted into a method, and I can assign that result into new array list named results right here. So what we want to do is we're going to go down and we're going to make a new method, and we're going to put that method that has basically the same logic right here that's going to go through chatbot responses, grab all the words that are unique out of it, and put it inside an array list. So to do that, we just go down here. We've made a new method called extract unique values. It takes an array list of string as a source as its parameter, and then we make a new array list of string unique words because this is returning an array list because it's going to create something. It needs to be a brand new array list because we're reinitializing data right here. And then for each string sentence inside the source array list, because all the chatbot responses are sentences or groups of words, I'm going to use that split thing just like we did earlier. So it's the same logic we have above. And then returns that as unique words. So that variable right here, unique words that we just created, we're going to return that new array list as that. So what we'll do is instead of having right here, where I have results equals a brand new array list and then go through and do this nested loop, we'll go ahead and take this chunk of code out. We'll delete that right there. So instead of having a whole block of code right here, we'll take our data member, chatbot responses, the variable that has that array list of all the responses that we don't want to hurt because it's the original data set. We'll take that as a parameter, we'll send it to this extract unique values method right here, and we'll assign the results of that into the array list of string named results right here. So now I have a brand new array list in results, and notice that my now from 249 only goes down to 280. We've shrunk that down, we've taken out all that code right there, and it can be used for doing something else. So if I want to ever get another set of unique words, like say for example all the unique words from the user's input, I could extract that out right there as well. So I could reuse that exact same method to do the same kind of thing. And so that's the great way we can use a lovely bit of reorganization or refactoring. And let's do the next one right here inside our method, and we're going to take that and do that insertion sort. And so the insertion sort takes that new results array list and it sorts it in place. And so that means I have an array list right here that I can sort. So that means I just need to send that array list off to the method. Because that array list is still held as a variable, I don't have to reassign into it. It's just like, oh, I'm going to take this array list, I'm going to sort it in place, and it's now sorted. So we'll use a new method for that. And so we have an array list right here called insertion sort. It takes an array list of strings, and I named it raw data. So I'll go right here, and that new array list of results right here will send to the array list of insertion sort. So we'll take out this block of code, the insertion sort code itself. We'll take it out, and we'll replace it with a call to insertion sort. And we'll pass it results. That array list that we have that has the individual unique values, so I can sort that off right there. And now that insertion sort itself, now that insertion sort itself, we'll use that method right here, so I can take that insertion sort, we'll do the same exact logic, it's just now its own method, properly extracted. And again, look how we've shortened down our insertion sorted chatbot responses. We're taking each of those pieces that they do into smaller chunks, so it does the work it needs to do for each block of code, and then returns the result. So I take this big, huge, giant pile, make it into more smaller, more manageable piles, and I can use that. That's the same reason why we have so many different files inside a Java project, because each file should do one group of things well. In this case, the chatbot does a lot of text handling. And so our final one is right here, the for loop right here, where we want to go through and we want to process that text array list and put it into a single string that looks like more like the paragraph formatting, so I can have all the words for that rather than having one giant pile right there. And so again, we're going to use that same refactor right here. I have it called format list. It returns a string. It takes that same exact logic of code right there, but turns into a method I can send an array list to and assign into a string. And so I'll say that my sorted words, and I'm going to just assign into it the replaced values from that array list source. So we'll take this code out right here again, and we'll say that sorted words, and we'll use plus equals because we're adding to it because it has that all unique words right there, and we'll say a call to format list, and we'll pass it results again. So now we're going to use that same array list a couple different times, and notice how my method has gone from this big huge 249 to 290. I now have an array method insertion sort that does the work for each different piece one at a time. And so this is a great example of refactoring. All the code and logic is still there, but now I can format any list into a lovely group of words. I can insertion sort any list of strings easily and alphabetically inside one set of values right there, just like I have my selection sort for strings right there. I can use any of those different closed individual groups, so I can do each group of actions quickly and easily. And then by having a method that combines them, like we have right here for insertion sorted chatbot responses, I can do all of that stuff using that same power, the same logic, but it's extract out into methods that make a lot more sense to do one thing well and continue on. So again, we took our original method, which was the full page. We collapsed it out by using 3 separate helper methods. We refactored each of the blocks of code that need to happen into their own exact value. So I create an array list one that says extracts unique values from a given array list and assigns it to that new list. I take that list and I sort it. I take that sorted list and I turn it into a string that I can add to the existing string, and then I print it out to the thing. So I've got it all right there and it's ready to go. This is a great way we can do some cool stuff with code. Thanks again. I hope this is very helpful for you, and have a great day. Cheers.